Premier Brad Wall was in Estevan today to check out the flooding and to discuss the flooding with RM and civic representatives. Wall spent today visiting Radville, Yellowgrass, and Weyburn before returning to Estevan, which he described as being ground zero. Wall first expressed his thanks towards the volunteers and community leaders who have been working tirelessly to prepare for and combat the damage of the flood.
Acknowledge the response of the people of southeast Saskatchewan, of the mayors and of the Reeves and of their councillors, of volunteer firefighters and countless others who have done an amazing job responding to an unprecedented weather event that literally has us in a 1 in 500 year situation in terms of flooding. So we're also grateful to all the folks from the provincial office of the Fire Commission and all the other provincial ministries and officials that have been responding, as well as emergency responders to this. It's been a remarkable effort, and we're just very grateful we have people like this, many of them volunteers who are truly heroes in every sense of the word, given the event that we've had.
Wall also discussed the contents of his meeting with the city and the RM, saying that the government would be involved in the area's recovery following the flooding.
Today was a good meeting. The Reeves and the mayors there were able to get into some detail about a couple things, the response that I've just mentioned, and then also about the future and what government can do, the provincial government can do to help this region deal with very significant water and drainage issues that we face today and likely aren't going to go away anytime soon. The government has indicated we're going to be there for them. We have been, that's been the case in incidents in Maple Creek, in North Battleford, and Yorkton last year. We've greatly improved the provincial disaster assistance program. We've reduced the deductible, we've increased the coverage for individuals, we've reduced the deductible for municipalities facing huge expenses to rebuild roads, and we're going to continue to look for improvements, but we're going to also look to make that money flow as quickly as possible as help. And in the long term, we have to look at some drainage issues here. We're prepared to do that.
Though he was unable to venture a guess at the cost, funding to pay for the damages will be coming from the provincial government, explained Wall, who said the government has a rainy day fund to be used in instances such as this.
Remember earlier in the year, in the winter time, we put forward $22 million to do some mitigation across the province, thinking it might be wet in certain areas, never contemplating this. I don't think anybody could have. But we did put $22 million forward, and we've also said to officials it doesn't have to stop there. Just get the job done and come back to what we call Treasury Board or our budget process after, and we'll make sure that some of this is covered in terms that it's all covered in terms of drainage and whatever's required to protect property and people. We're lucky in the province to have had a balanced budget and over $700 million in the bank in the rainy day fund. It's been raining like the days of Noah, and so we may well need that to use some of that to make sure we're not shortchanging anything that just needs to be done.
The Premier also addressed the economic difficulties stemming from the flooding, stating that the government will be there to provide support for agricultural producers as well as for the oil industry, both key parts in Estevan's economy that have been hit hard by the flooding.
That's a huge part of it. It's a huge part of the situation that we're facing. Not only we also have the agricultural difficulties. There will likely need to be support for agriculture, and so there's a cost there. And yes, there's thousands of barrels a day of production shut in right now because of the weather, and that impacts the royalties to the province. But it also impacts, generally, more importantly, frankly, families and the overall economy of this area, because people aren't working. The wheels aren't turning, either on the farm or in the patch.
Roads and infrastructure were discussed, particularly in relation to the oil patch. Wall said that the government's existing Roads to Resources program will be key in the rehabilitation of municipal roads. Wall's final point addressed management of the reservoirs, stating that his government would be looking into how they were handled.
We're going to have to, and I don't have an estimate, Brian, but obviously that's a very big part of it. As you know, our government funds something called Roads to Resources already through the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities, intended to focus on roads that take us to the jobs and the wealth that's created in our resource sector. Likely we're going to need to look very carefully at that program in terms of what additionally needs to be done now, as well as what the repairs that will happen under the Provincial Disaster Assistance Program. We also indicated to municipalities here, some who have no taxes necessarily coming in because obviously agriculture is not really happening, and who are facing huge cost in dealing with the flood and all the implications with respect to the roads. We've told them, let us know if there's an advance needed. They're obviously going to be eligible for disaster assistance. There's no question. We're not going to be, as a government, we're simply going to be there for them if they need an advance to keep things going in their RMs and municipalities. That's the message we also gave today.
Wall's final point addressed management of the reservoirs, stating that his government would be looking into how they were handled.
I think we'll also want to make sure we're asking all the right questions about management of the reservoirs. That would be a final point we talked about here today. We're lucky to have these reservoirs, and certainly they were built years ago. However, there's questions. Obviously, if you're in the valley and your place is destroyed, you'd like to know if the reservoirs are managed as best as possible, and we'd like to know that too as a government. So we'll ask those questions. And again, we have great officials working on this. I'm not sure who could have foreseen a foot of rain since May 1 and the snowstorm just ahead of that. And there are many other conditions in the area in terms of international water issues, however, and interprovincial water issues with Manitoba. However, we want to make sure that we're always doing the very best by the people who live downstream of reservoirs in terms of the management of those reservoirs.
For the EstevanMercury.ca, I'm Tanea Marr.